What's your "I don't get paid enough for this" moment at work? Used to work as a dental nurse. First patient of the friggin' day. Bloke said he felt sick after having a local anesthetic. He looked it. I grabbed the bin and told him if he needed to vomit, take the bin. He held it in his lap and turned, vomiting down the side of the chair and all over my pants and shoes. Of course I had to clean it up, and of course they wouldn't let me go home to change. I manage a fast food restaurant, and for me it's always things that have to do with the bathroom. From having to clean up porn magazines, semen on the floor or walls, to people either purposely shitting on the floor, even used hypodermic needles. I was working late, like 2 AM in the office. My manager said let's go to the convenience store to buy some snacks and smokes. She sits in the back and we drive there. After we get our shit, she says can we swing by this street intersection real quick. When we get to that intersection, I guess she sees a car that belongs to someone she knows, parked in front of her boyfriend's house. She starts to wail, cry and kick around in the backseat, while my bewildered ass just holds the steering wheel, with a stupid look on my face. After 20 minutes of that shit, we drive back to the office. I drop her off and I go home. What the fuck? I work in childcare. There was one time we had one kid who had a diaper blowout and one kid who puked everywhere. There's only 2 teachers, so one has to handle the blowout and one the vomit, while also keeping the rest of the kids away from it all. Got change thrown in my face at work because a man was upset we didn't have meatballs. Now if I'm working he'll come in, see me, and walk out. Posted this before. This was back in the late 90s. I was working at Walmart as my first job as a teenager. I was floated to the garden department one day and there was a guy looking at lawn fertilizer. I walked over and asked if he needs help. He said not now, just looking at the different kinds you have. Pretty standard reply from the guy. So I said okay, let me know. I walk away, and then swing back about 5 minutes later. Same guy has proceeded to rip open about 10 different kinds of the fertilizer all over the ground and is rolling around in the stuff. He is also taste sampling the stuff. I called my manager because I did not want to deal with it. Security escorted the guy out the store and called an ambulance in case the ingestion of the fertilizer hurt him. Worked at a fast food place about 13 years ago. This lady in the drive-thru claimed she was missing a sandwich. Our policy was to ask for the bags back to verify. I asked to see the bags. 3 or 4, decent sized order, and instead of handing them back like a civilized human being she instantly started raging and throwing the food into the window while cussing me out. Guess what one of the items that she threw at me was? Yeah, said missing sandwich. Countless times at the go-kart place, summer job, where I work I've had to put up with special needs kids whose caretakers or parents dropped them off and drove off because they wanted a break from them. These kids, and adults, have a mental age of anywhere from 3-15, and many times they are unable to follow the directions that we provide or even listen to us. They are not only a danger to themselves but to the other riders and to us the staff. An easy solution to this would be for their parents to ride with them in a double and to drive for them, allowing them to have fun without having to put anyone in danger. However, that costs more money and they don't want to. One parent even said, why can't you just ride with him? And when I asked if she would be comfortable with other people she said he wasn't. I wanted to call her a shitty parent but I didn't want to lose my job. We can't deny them as they have the physical age to ride, but are hopefully putting rules in place to require parents of children with special needs to ride with their parents. Direct support staff for people with minor disabilities. 13 an hour. Had a client go off the rails because he refused to take schizophrenia pills. Was working night shift and he gets up in the middle of the night and starts yelling random things, running around the house naked, peeing on everything, asking for me to put a cowboy hat on him. He is now in a nursing home, bless his soul. I work in security, and a bit under a year ago, I worked at some kind of public TV event. My job was to keep people without passes out of a specific area which was intended for those working behind the scenes to kick back and relax and get their lunches and all that. Anyway, only ones I was allowed entrance were people with passes and other security folks. But then word from above came that the exception was to be made for some kind of supposedly famous child music group. I had no clue what they looked like. So 4 kids and their parents walk up and I stop them. Don't you know who these are? Quickly followed. Eventually it got cleared up. And every time after they kept bringing in more friends and family members and the same song and dance continued. My boss insisted that everybody be at their desks at 8:30 sharp. She made me take roll on an attendance sheet and hand it into her every day. She also made me do it at lunchtime, when everybody left and came back, and when they left at night. Took roll for a bunch of adults 3 times a day. I don't work there anymore. I walked into the bathroom, and someone had smeared poop on literally every single surface, wall, everything except one small part of the ceiling they couldn't reach. Picasso almost made me quit, but luckily my boss told me to lock it, not let anyone else use it, and he got someone to come with a pressure washer. I don't think you understand what a contract means. Besides, this is an opportunity for you. When the new manager tried to move me to night shifts weekend from my day shifts, working days despite my contract being very specific about when I worked. Hey, you were right. This is a big opportunity for me was how I opened when I told her I was quitting. The look of shock and 15 minutes of silence on her part were hilarious, and the best feeling interval of my entire life when she realized I had thrown her own stupid words back at her. I had an emergency, last minute 20,000 word translation that needed to be done in under 24 hours. The usual output for a translator is 2,000 words per day, including proofreading and editing. I don't know how, but I managed to bash it out. Not my best quality translation ever, but I got it done. Was working the registers at a grocery store. About an hour before closing, a customer comes to my lane with 2 48-count egg cartons. Stumbles a bit putting them onto the belt, and before I can react the entire thing was on the ground. Best part, apparently the janitor had left already, so I got to spend the next hour cleaning up 96 broken eggs with nothing but paper towels. When I worked at McDonald's, I found out we didn't get paid for closing. We got paid until the store closed, so if it took us an extra hour or 2 to close, that was unpaid. I wish I knew what I know now, because that is an open and shut case. But at the time, I was young and dumb. My first paycheck, I noticed I had a ton of missing hours. So when I asked my boss about it, she told me we only get paid until the store closed. So that night, I walked out when the store closed. They tried to guilt me into staying, because the other team members need me. Fuck that. I don't work for free. Sorry. Especially when I'm already making minimum wage. No thanks. Not gonna happen. An old man rushed inside our store, literally running to the bathroom, but still managed to shit himself and all over the floor before he could make it, right in the most open, spacious part of the store. Working at Target on Black Friday in the back room without anyone else to help me pull the product and getting told I am not keeping up. Weird how I got sick 2 hours into my volunteered 12-hour shift. Had a metal bolt thrown at me while teaching 13-year-olds. It missed, but it could really have hurt me. I'm not the best teacher, not by a long mile, but I don't deserve that kind of fuckery. I make $13 an hour on an ambulance. Every day is, and I don't get paid enough for this moment. Having to listen to a child scream his head off because the father insisted on injection instead of the calming drug we usually use for kids that small. Asshole father. That kid is going to be scared of the dentist for a long time, if not for life. When my boss screamed at me for something they got wrong. This was a couple hours after 2 coworkers almost came to blows because one of them left their phone overnight and the other, the first person to arrive in the shop, used it to send a prank text to another coworker but didn't want to admit it. Doing landscaping during the summers while in college. I rolled up a long piece of sod I had just cut and placed it in a wheelbarrow. When I turn back around, there's a copperhead sitting in the wheelbarrow giving me the stank eye. Apparently I had rolled a copperhead up in the sod and carried it to the wheelbarrow before he was able to get out. I ended up having to kill 4 copperheads that day. A customer broke my nose because he thought I stole his phone. Turns out, he just left it in his shopping cart. I had to leave in the middle of my shift and took the next day off, with a doctor's excuse. I was disciplined. Point system. 7 points for termination. Received 2 points for missing my shifts. Worked at McDonald's in high school. Some jerk thought it would be funny to take a shit in the middle of the bathroom floor. It was the front register operator's job to clean the dining area and bathroom during slow times. At the time, mine. I clocked out and left. When I was 15 and working at McDonald's, someone dropped their colostomy bag in the bathroom, causing what can only be described as a massive shit explosion. Guess who got paid $6 an hour to clean that up? It was on the fucking ceiling, it was everywhere.
later.